Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Same Storm, Different Boat. Today, we are speaking to the booking agent for Little River Band. Mark and I work hand in glove together. This is Mark Lyman. He is our booking agent, former musician, Canadian.
Well, not former.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said former musician. He is a musician. But he doesn't rely on a musician's income anymore.
He's smart.
So
Good point.
you're a liberated musician. Fantastic.
I'm a weekend warrior is what I
There
am.
you go.
You know what?
And
And by the way, he's a great guitar player. And the band that he has put together, horn band in South Florida called B-Side Jones, is cooking. Oh, look at you.
Yay.
You know what? Some promotion is allowed here.
there's a little promotion going on.
Same storm, different boat. So I'm just going to dive right into this. I get asked questions all the time on Facebook and so on and so forth from fans and whatever. Why don't you come to our town? This venue would be great for you guys. Or there's a festival coming up in 3 weeks. Why don't you just send the bus over here? Just come to play for us. As it, I'm sure, has irked you before, people don't consider being a musician as work. They think music falls out of the sky and it just appears on their radio or computer or whatever. And I think people think the same about shows. For those who aren't in tune with our industry, give a description of your day, of a normal day prior to our virus friend attacking our industry.
Well, I currently don't have a straitjacket to show anybody.
Well
let
said.
that be a little bit of an indication
Well said.
of a day in the office. There's a lot that goes on. You know, first of all, it's having relationships with the different promoters in the different areas. It's basically the idea that promoters call and want to, book the band, and that comes from the popularity of the group and the venues that are available. A lot of these places are booked well in advance. The festivals are booked well in advance. The performing arts centers are booked well in advance, sometimes by year, sometimes by year and a half, almost 2 years in advance. We try to get the band in as many places as we possibly can, of course, with the idea that, the band can't play every single day of the week. It just doesn't work that way. But we have a lot of promoters over the years. We've been working together, since
96, I think.
Yeah, so it's been a long time.
Yep.
So we've established the friendships and the history with all the different promoters out there, the different talent buyers, be it casinos, be it festivals, be it performing arts centers. They themselves have their own booking policies and their schedules with what they work on, and try to get the bands in that they feel are going to be good draws for the demographics, for the people in those areas. And the great thing with Little River Band is that they're very, and don't take this the wrong way, it's a middle of the road act, because it's not a metal act, it's not a jazz act, but it's very popular. The band is popular, so people want to see this band, and it's amazing how many replays, how many places you've been to that you've been to so many times before, because you sell out the venues, people want to see you, the promoters want you back. And this is really, it's taken off in the last, in a big way, in a very big way. Over the last couple of years, you see the numbers, the attendance, and there's a lot that goes into it. It's negotiating with the individual promoters. It's making sure that we get the right date on the books, because it's a bit of a it's almost like it's strategy. It's making sure, and it doesn't work all the time, but it's making sure that the band can get there. The logistics that go into this are you know, there's always little meetings between myself, my partner Steve, about whether or not this is going to work or it's not going to work. So there's a lot of different things that come into play when you're booking a show.
Well, you brought up something that I wanted to a corollary to it. There are actually places where we have to think really hard whether it's going to work, not just for our sake, but for the promoter, for the venue, for the buyer, because a happy industry keeps everybody going. I know you guys feel it's rare, but I feel a happy venue and a happy promoter means that we're going to come back and work again. And so just to storm in as a band and go, I want this, and I need the green M&Ms lined up, you know, in a row next to my towel, that's all just crap.
Right.
We don't do any of that. But there are times when somebody has called from an area of the country that we weren't popular in, or it wasn't good. So what you just said was very important, that the call comes in, but it's not just a slam dunk that we get in the bus and head that way. There's a lot that goes into making the decision of whether we accept or don't accept. And that, thank you for the description, because again, for anybody that's listening that thinks that we can just go, let's go to Pittsburgh tonight. We're close. Let's just go there and we'll knock on the door and set up and play. It doesn't work that way. This stuff is planned out months, sometimes a year in advance as to.
Well, if I'm not
where we're going.
mistaken, I think at the end of 19, there was something in the talks for 2022 already.
2021 for sure.
I mean, 2021. Sorry.
Yes.
You're in 2022.
We're working through a year ahead at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, and COVID-19 aside, we were already planning into 2020 because there are venues that that Little River Band hasn't even played yet, that wants to book the band for 2021. They want to get in on the action. They want to get in early. They want to know they have their show secured. And these are buyers that are well established, that we continue to play shows with every year. You know, for instance, even a guy like like at Medina, Minnesota, the Medina Entertainment Program, the usual plan of attack with Mark Raskob is, we do the show on a Saturday. On Monday, I get the call, and it's, okay, Mark, we're going to line it up for next year. It's like the date just played. I get a call on Monday for the following year. Yeah. So that's happened so many times in the past, and Mark's just one of them. But we know that there are, we could name them off, Bobby Rossi and Kevin Stone. The minute that happens, I see them at the show. I saw them at the show, right? When one of the last shows we played before this crap hit, back in February. And as I'm walking out, I'm saying goodbye to you at the merch table. Bobby pulls me over and he goes, we got to talk about next year. The show just finished. What? So, you know, you got to love that. That's the cool part about the business.
Well, and the fans have grown. Let's take Medina as an example. Mm-hmm. The fans, they know it's usually give or take 1 week in November. That's when they go, and the fans base their schedule, or they plan that, hey, we're going to see LRB in Medina in November.
Right.
And sometimes they plan a year ahead. I mean,
right.
So
they always do.
That's the way it is.
And the thing is that Mark always, like a guy like Mark, he over at Medina, he always plans the band at the same time every year. It's usually the first week in November. So all the fans, all the people that come to the show, they know within that week next year, that's when LRB is going to be there. So they know they're not doing it. They're not going moose hunting or anything like that. So it's that's the fun part about being able to keep good, positive work ethic with a band like this. This is LRB is I feel blessed, and I know my partner Steve and Janice from Artists International. We're very happy that we've been together all these years, and the team, you know, like our illustrious publicist Donna likes to call it Team Little River Band, or Team LRB.
Team LRB.
Team LRB, which I find very cute. And it is. We've been working hand in hand, and Rhonda is witness to this. She's one of our key people. Remember when she told me, doesn't matter, just book them. Book the band. They need to work. Book the band. We need as many dates as we can. We have so many fans out there. We got to book the band. Yeah, I see, Wayne.
Yeah,
I got a little something.
He's got her name on it.
I got my own fair share now.
There's a little gray going here, but
that's the way that goes down.
Thank goodness I still have it.
Well, so, basically the whole entire entertainment industry is silent right now.
Mm-hmm.
But thankfully, your portion of it, you're still going to the office, fielding an enormous amount of phone calls. What's been the biggest challenge that you face since this pandemic has hit with, trying to deal with this and what it's caused for the tours? And I want to say to everyone that's listening, LRB is not the only band you guys book. You guys book other artists. So it's not like you have all day, every day to spend just on one.
Right.
So what's been your biggest challenge?
Well, the thing, like you just said, is, and it's not just LRB, it's every band out there. We've seen canceled tours by everybody, Pearl Jam. You could name everybody's canceling their tours, and that's the unfortunate part. On the positive part for me, well, you asked what was the biggest challenge. The biggest challenge is we don't know when this thing is where we're going to be able to open up.
Yeah.
Because, for instance, this year came down where we shut down, meaning LRB and everything going on, middle of March. I remember I was on the phone with Wayne, and they were flying out to Wisconsin to do a show. And I was on the phone with Wayne, and I was waiting to see if I'm getting a call. And Wayne calls me and he goes, I'm going to be getting on a plane. Do we know what's going on? And I said, well, right now I haven't heard anything. And the minute him and I hung up, we got the call. Sorry, guys, Wisconsin it's a no-go. So I had to call Wayne back. The biggest challenge is not knowing when we're going to be able to get this thing rolling again. Now, in the meantime, on the good side, we have had incredible reaction to rescheduling almost every single show. Now, the challenge is we actually had rescheduled shows in March that were supposed to play in March into June. And now we're clearing the deck in June, and we're having to move those shows to another date. Now, I don't know offhand how many. There isn't a lot. There wasn't a lot because we sort of saw this coming. We tried to move those shows even later. But there was one or two shows, like Wayne knows, the historic Genesee Theater in Waukegan, Illinois. They wanted to move their date from, I think it was April. Was it April or was it May or something like that? They moved to May, right?
Yeah.
Beginning of May, right? They moved it into June. We had to change that date now for the second time.
Well, and to add on to your problem,
yes,
the back of the year was already full.
Correct.
So it's not like you've got a lot of places to pop these shows. And let's be realistic. Most venues, I usually, when people ask me, I say they're usually travel Wednesday, out Thursday, back Sunday, because it's usually Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There's very few venues that want a band on a Monday or a Tuesday. Let's just it. So you had that complication as well.
Well, what happens is it's almost like plugging up the holes. You have you still had some open dates at the back end, some limited Fridays and Saturdays. And so we're taking the earlier dates and we're moving them. And we're taking now, as we're moving, we've already cleared the mid-March to end of March. We've already cleared April. We've already cleared May. We've now already cleared June. All those dates now do not exist in those months anymore. They've now moved. Now, as we start going forward, there becomes less dates available because they want to do Thursdays, they want to do Fridays and Saturdays. A lot of them want to do Fridays and Saturdays, and those dates have become almost done already. So anything moving forward is going to be tough unless we move it into 21. And there are dates now starting to move in that direction.
But then that's where what you mentioned earlier, the working relationships that you have with these promoters, that's where that really comes into play.
Right.
Because you have built a trust with them. They know the quality of the band and the show. And so you two start massaging it and working it out.
Right. And at the same time, don't forget, it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
It's not just what's available for us that we're available, and it's what they have available at their venue.
Right.
Because they've got a whole
exactly. They're not just booking Little River Band. Right. They got all these other bands coming in that they have to deal with. So we have to, we're playing the game. Like, okay, so all right, LRB is available this date, this date, and that date. And then they go, well, the venue's not available this date, and that date. Now, okay, so what dates do the venue have? So that's how we have to go back and forth till we can finally come to terms between everybody. And they want the band. They want the band. The band has sold tickets. The band's selling tickets. The band, we have sellouts on the West Coast at Barbara B. Mann, Parker Playhouse down here. But they don't have the room available before next year. So we had to move them into 2021. On the good side, those tickets are already sold. People are going to come to the shows. But at the same time,
and then there's one added element, and I think I can say this for you. They do a lot of travel by bus because they like to carry their own equipment.
Right.
Well, hello, you can't get from Pittsburgh to Utah in a day, in 12 hours. So
Right.
there's that added element that you guys have to juggle.
Sure. Well, that's the logistical part of it. Now, of course, they have a bus that they want to be on because they have their own gear, but it's a brand new bus. Who doesn't want to be on a brand spanking new tour bus? Smells great.
I haven't seen it for 3 months now.
I know, you must be Jonesy.
I seriously hope someone cleaned out the refrigerator. It's gonna be a stinking new bus.
Well, the funny thing is, I was at the Ruth Eckerd Hall show, and Kimbrough brought me backstage to see the bus. I said, "Yeah." He said, "Did you see it?" I said, "No." And he opens up the door. He says, "Take a look at what they did." And they have that big LRB logo on the door in that, like, what is it, in that leather or whatever. It's like, okay, this is really cool. So,
And that was total surprise. We didn't order that. That was something that the owner threw in.
nice.
The builder threw in as a perk to
Nice.
as a thank you. But
Yeah.
it's very cool.
It's a beautiful bus, and yeah, I would want to be on it too. But all joking aside, yes, they want to bring their gear. I think it's terrific what they've done technologically with the gear, because just being a musician, I know that they've really, it's streamlined what they take now. The fact that, I mean, we can go into all kinds of conversations about it's recorded music or it's lip sync and all that kind of craziness that I've heard, because nothing is on the stage. It's a totally clean stage. And I think that's fantastic. Just the technology allows you to go with very, light baggage in terms of gear, and you could play anywhere. But still, the fact remains, like you said, Rhonda, you can't get from here to there. In certain cases, you just can't. It's impossible. So I get it, so that's part of the challenge is making sure, like, for instance, we got a date with the Utah Symphony Orchestra. I think is it August 1st?
August 1.
August 1. So we can't really book anything the day before because you got to be there. I mean, you're playing with a 50-piece orchestra.
Yeah.
And you need time. So it's like, so that puts away a day. I think it's a Friday or something like that the day before. I think this is on a Saturday. So you can't book the Friday. You got to make sure that you're traveling and you got to be there to do this show. So there's just different challenges it comes from different places, and that's what makes it a little more challenging. It's almost like a chess game sometimes.
Yeah.
Where we can go with things.
Well, you mentioned something that I don't know. I don't know the answer to this. I've never asked you this. We've had plenty of discussions around this.
Mm-hmm.
But I was wondering, as we wanted to put together things to ask you, the fact that you're a musician makes it so much easier for you and I to talk about some of the logistics, some of the details, and say, that doesn't work.
To the promoter or to the buyer or to the venue. Is that what you're referring to?
Exactly. If there's something, if there's some detail that
Right.
we have to approve because we just have to say it doesn't work. And if I'm not speaking to a musician, they're not going to quite understand. You're not just being a prima donna. This actually physically, logistically doesn't work for you the way you put your show on and what you need to do. One example, we're very picky, like you said, about gear, PA and so on and so forth, because we've got 5-part vocals, 3-part guitars, keyboards, and percussion added in via computer. There's a ton of stuff going on in our sound, and some systems aren't built to handle that. So the question for you is, do you ever find that as a musician, you start to think forward to what I would have said to a certain logistical detail or whatever to a promoter? It makes it easier for you to kind of head off a problem, does it not? I hope so, because
I do.
okay.
Definitely. I'm thinking, it's forward thinking, because I know what you're looking at, what's down the road for you, and I'm looking at it straight at it, and I'm going to go, no, this has got to be your call on this, because it's just, I can see it as a musician, as somebody who's been in the business for a long time, not just as a musician, but as a musician in the past, what I would want for me, as I would want for you, because I've done the tours and I've done the recordings, and I know I've been on that side of the fence, so I totally understand it. And all I got to say is God bless you guys, because I don't know that, just seeing what you guys do, it's like, for me, like running a marathon. I'm like, oh my God, how would I have been had I been where what you're doing now, if I would be doing it now, how I would feel. But in answering that question, I would want everything to be right for you. And it's not a matter of being picky. It's a matter of knowing what you need. And as a musician, I feel that I have that ability to think forward into that and know, okay, you know what? This is something that's bothering me. So I'll pick up the phone and go, okay, Wayne, here, I need you in on this here. What do you think? I mean, you need to make the call on this. So there are a lot of things in that respect. And yes, I do feel it first. I can feel it, and I can feel it myself first and go, okay, I know exactly what's going on. And that's what I like about being in this business, is that I came from the other side of the fence. And as a musician, I put myself in your shoes and go, okay, where does this go? Is this right? Is this not right? So, and then if I'm questioning that, I will make the call to you. At the same time, I'm very grateful that you give us the latitude to do what we do, and that you trust us enough that we don't have to be on the phones every 30 seconds to make a call on something, because you give us that ability to run with the ball. And everything has been working so well.
Well, the bottom line is quality. I know what you put together with the band, with B-Side Jones. I watched you walk through all of that and get things to a point where you knew that when you walked on stage that it was a quality show.
Right.
Quality is so important to what we do as well. And if there's something that's going to impact the quality, for instance, we work with lots of bands who don't travel by bus and don't bring their own gear and so on and so forth. And when something breaks down, because stuff happens, something breaks down at a show, it's on the house crew and whatever to fix it. And the band has completely lost control of their day, of that cable, of that one cable can bring a show down. Because if it's the lead vocals cable, can't deliver the song.
But that goes back too to what Mark said. It's not about being picky. It's about caring about the quality of your show, which then speaks for itself in the amount of shows that they do each year. That's really the puzzle.
And touching on that, people don't, the audience doesn't understand also what's going on.
No.
At the same time, the crew is trying to troubleshoot a problem. The people out there know there's a problem, but they don't know if they're equating it to the band or to the gear or what it is. So they're in limbo too. And the last thing you want is to have the audience go, oh, look how long it took them to fix this. And,
Yeah.
Exactly.
directed towards the band. You guys have an amazing crew, and to me that's key. It's funny because I guess every once in a while, the idea of I think you mention it all the time. Without a crew like that, it's amazing how the crew is part of the band.
Mhm.
First people in, last people out.
Absolutely,
They
100%.
set the tone.
Yep. You got guys like that. And again, you guys are the players. Those guys make it happen. And I can't even say enough about Wakefield. I mean, I've even people like even with my band, we've gone to see shows and it's like, are you kidding? This is insane how amazing he not how he puts the band. You guys are the band, but he puts it out into the audience and it's like you hear everything. And that's why I think it's so important when people go to see the show that they walk away and they go, oh, this was insane. This was amazing. You heard everything.
Yeah.
And I've been to a lot of your shows, and I'm the worst critic. I'm my worst critic, as I know you're your worst critic, right, Ron?
Yep.
He's his worst critic.
Yep.
Musicians are maniacs. We're our worst critic. But when I go see you guys, I tell you every time, and this is not just, it's not the pat on the back, but it's the reality. Because if it wasn't great, I would say something, But I don't know. I've never been to a Little River Band show where it's not stellar. And I know sometimes you tell me, well, Mark, it wasn't our greatest night. Well, cool, because I sure as hell didn't think, I wouldn't have known any different because it sounds amazing. And that's that's the great part about Little River Band. They're so consistent. It's fantastic.
Wow.
And it's not just because I booked the band, because I'm just talking from the musician side of things.
Thank you very much. I appreciate all that, but I want to blow your horn, not ours, right now, because well, the crew's the first one in or out the door, but the tone is set for a buyer and a venue.
Yeah.
The first call goes to you guys, and then it all rolls from there. So,
well, I do have to say, I'm doing this 28 years, but my partner Steve and his wife Janice, they started Artist International a long time ago, and without Steve and Janice, I wouldn't be here. I don't know what I'd be doing, but I got to tell you, 28 years ago, he said to me, I like you. I like what you're all about. I like that you're a musician. I like that you got a good head on your shoulders, and I want you to come work with me. And that was 28 years ago. I learned invaluable lessons and still do with him. It's family. It turned into family. Steve and Janice and me were family. It's that close. I see them 5 days out of the week.
Every week.
Every single week. The only time I would not be in the office, which is rare of rares, would be if I couldn't get out of bed because I was deathly sick, knock wood a million times that doesn't happen. But otherwise I'm in that office. If I'm flying in from somewhere, because I've been away and I land at 3, at 4, I'm in the office that day, just to make sure, because I want to tap in and make sure. But Steve has been my mentor, for all these years. And the one thing he did teach me, and I take it with me every day, is the band. It's you work for the band. Now, I've learned in no uncertain terms that in this day and age, you got to work with both. You got to work with the promoters, you got to work with the band, you got to work with everybody, because you want everybody to be happy. Like we were talking about, a happy band, a happy promoter, happy crew people. So you got to work both sides. But at the end of the day, without a great band, You know, it's like without a great woman behind you, right? Right, Rhonda? Every man has a nudge, nudge, nudge. There you go. I have to throw that in because it's true.
Right.
Did you text Mark?
Yeah, I texted.
He
I'm
texted
going
me.
to switch gears here just a little bit. As we've been, talking about this whole situation.
Yeah.
You're from Canada. I'm sure you've been in touch with friends and family up there.
Absolutely, yeah.
And what are there stark differences in how things are being handled up there versus here with all of the stuff
It
going
seems
on?
over there. I was, as a matter of fact, it's funny you should mention that because a longtime compadre. He's an agent, but he also plays in a band, and we know each other through our bands in Canada. As a matter of fact, you met him last year, I think, Wayne, Bernie Aubin.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So Bernie plays in a band called the Headpins, which were a well-known band in Canada, just like my band, Luba, was a well-known band in Canada. So we know each other from the Canadian scene. And he calls me and I call him just to see how things are going. And he's really like, and I speak to some other friends in Montreal and they're really, I don't know, this thing hit him really hard in the heart and the mind. I try to keep very positive about what's going on here. Just talk to my neighbors and it's like, yeah, we got to go out. We can't sit in the house, looking at four walls. We got to think positive. We got to get out in the sun. We got to walk. We got to we got to enjoy. We can't let this thing bring us down. And yet the people in Canada that I've been talking to are like, oh my God, I can't. And yes, I get it. There's a lot of people out of work. My sister just lost her job the other day. She was laid off. I mean, it's like, yes, I feel terrible about all this that's going on. The Canadian people seem to be, at least my connections there, seem to be a lot more affected. Or maybe it's just the people I'm talking to, but they seem a lot more affected.
Mentally?
Yes, mentally, emotionally, mentally about it. It just seems like they're very down on this thing.
Interesting.
Where I'm trying to be positive and be up and be out and breathe the fresh air and go, okay, we got to push hard on this thing. We can't let this thing get us down. Yes, it keeps coming at us, but we got to fight the fight because we're like you said, it's the same storm. So we're in this storm. We got to move through it. We got to push hard on it. And we got to do our best that we can. And I feel terrible that there's people out there losing their jobs every day. I just went over to Third and Third, right? And they're doing this thing on the weekend because they can't keep open, but they're doing like, their chef is great. He's putting stuff out just for a weekend, a limited menu that people can call in. I actually drove up and I wanted to order something. So I ordered something that they brought to me at the window and I gave them extra money just for the people inside, just whatever. I want to see them back. They're local. I want to support our local people here as much as I can. And yes, I feel terrible about it. Rhonda, Atlantic Avenue, it's like a ghost town.
Yeah.
And it's like, you guys know what Atlantic Avenue is like at any given time. Could be 12:30 at night, could be Sunday afternoon, jamming with people. Nobody else.
Hero.
It's terrible.
Wow.
Yes, I feel really bad, but the Canadians, it just seems like it's hitting them harder. I mean, I know they dealt with the SARS issue years ago. This thing seems to be like overwhelming them. And I know it's overwhelming here, but I'm just feeling it from the other side of the border that
Do you think this has anything to do with
What is that?
there's some kind of audio thing happening when your computers, when your mic is open, we're hearing ourselves echo in the background. I hope you're not hearing that.
No.
It's something electronic. I hope it's not being
Based on our
recorded.
early experience today, it
Yeah.
could be our internet.
Exactly. But I wonder, Canada being Northern America, if you will,
Yep.
our partner, our shared border.
Yep.
Do you think that the scope of what's happening in America has taken them, they're not being paid attention to somehow? Are they on the world level? I don't know what's going on in Canada. I don't know what's going on in Australia. I barely know what's going on in Europe. Had not, Italy and France and Spain had such outbreaks. Do you think it's a matter of nobody cares about what's happening up here?
It is weird. It is weird because
That's wrong.
it is. I just, it's almost like Canada's always been like sort of like the little brother kind of thing to the
Yeah.
US always, and there always seemed to be like in Canada, from my perspective, whereas the US is, it's moving, it's shaking. Canada seems to be floating a lot. It's always, to me, always like everything is nice and easy over there, except for the terrible snowstorms, which I couldn't see. I'm not sure if you had that pleasure or displeasure, but believe me, I have.
Dude, you sent us there in February.
Did I?
Yes, you did. February 15th in Calgary.
He must
Yes.
have been mad.
Oh, shoot, yeah.
He
Oh,
had offered
yeah.
something.
Right. Yeah, they didn't have the
Is that
hotel rooms
payback
ready.
somehow?
Oh, I remember that. That comes back to me. You're right. Sorry.
Oh,
No, this was not intended. It wasn't intended.
Okay.
Sorry about that. You have my apologies. But Canada always seemed to be like really kind of like neutral to things. There wasn't anything big going on over there. I think they're sort of taking the hit based on what we're feeling here. It seems like everything there is like, oh my God, this is what's going on here now. It came from the States or came from, what's really weird is I was talking to my friend in Vancouver. They're a huge hub for Asia, for China, Japan and stuff like that. And I'm surprised, like I didn't hear more about it from him, but it just seems that they're kind of like, you're right, like this little brother who's sort of like on the side, and you're not really hearing much about it. But then we've got 10 times the amount of people than those people do over there. And
it's true.
Do you think that along those same lines that because they are north, it takes longer for them to thaw out? Some of the mental part of it is you just can't get out. It's not warm. It's not, those of us that are lucky enough, us, to live in sunny places and it's warm and we're able to get out and breathe the fresh air. Do you think that plays a part in their thinking about it as well?
Absolutely. It's one of the reasons why I love Canada. I couldn't take the cold weather there. It was very gray. There was very little summer there. So it was too warm to ski and too cold to swim. And most of the time when you had very limited summers, it's very gray. And I felt that it affects the attitudes of people. It definitely affects the attitudes of people. Living in a tropical climate like here in Florida, in South Florida, so it rains. Oh, big deal. So tomorrow will be sunny. You know what I mean? You're not looking at gray for like months on end,
Right.
cold months on end, and just it's almost like you're in this zone of like you can't have a happy attitude because most people there have this like really down attitude about things, and so that's why I left. It was partially that and partially because of a job opportunity, the cold weather, and don't forget, we're going into May, so these people have gone through this in cold weather. This hit us in February, like everything started to collapse in February. In March. And that's when it was, really cold there. I was looking at the weather there. They're showing like 30 degrees, 40 degrees. I mean, these people are freezing. You can't just go out there and then you talk about wind chill factor, and then it's like minus this or minus that, and they can't go out and they're stuck in the house.
Yeah.
So, feel for them in that respect too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were probably taking a double whammy. They couldn't get out like you guys and like us, down here. But yeah, it's been quite a challenge. It's been, but for me, like you said, I go to work every day. I'm busy because I'm still working on the contracts. If I'm not selling new dates or I'm not negotiating new dates, we're finding the spots to reschedule shows. We're renegotiating. We're trying to fix the contracts and get stuff out to people and back and forth and lock everything in so that when it does hopefully open up soon, we'll be able to go out and by the way, what's your thought on this? Like, Wayne, you're out there, and Rhonda, you too. What's your thought about coming back into the fold once we get green lights to do this? Like, what's your mindset? What's your thought process and nervousness? And tell me a little bit about what you guys think about this.
I think by the time venues decide, or state and local governments decide to let a venue put on a show, by that point, I would hope there would be something in place for testing, that people could feel safe knowing they were walking into a building where, at the very least, just take what Amazon does at their plants. Every Amazon employee gets a temperature taken before they
Not
go in
only
their
their
house.
employee, any
Right.
person that steps foot,
Exactly, vendors as well,
vendors,
truckers.
truck drivers, they have their temperature taken immediately.
So there is the mindset out there that large groups that are going to go into one building are being tested in some form. Hopefully there's a more substantial test that could give even another level of security by July or August.
Right.
Maybe it happens with outdoor venues, that they are able to test, take temperature, and it's in a warm climate where things are low and they've opened up the state. But we don't want it to happen too soon either, because we're right there at the forefront of what's happening. With the local crew, we could stay separated. We could do a stage and make sure that everybody was 15 feet back, but that's not how we operate. We do meet and greets. And the other prospect was just picture people coming into a concert and having to put on a mask. That's not going to fly. That would look bizarre. I mean, it looks like it would be
LRB logo. LRB logo right here.
We've got help is on its way coming on a mask. But it feels like a Devo video, with all of us wearing helmets and doing that kind of. So all in all, it basically is take a deep breath and wait until it's safe for everybody. When it's safe for everybody, it's going to be safe for people, as safe as it can be.
Right.
Hopefully there's a vaccine soon, and so on and so forth. But all of that, will that happen by July, August? We really have had to get to the mindset that, like you said, we just don't know when it's going to lift. And we're not going to take a chance unless we know that the venue has thought it through, done it right. And for the most part, all of these venues, they've got their own regulations to live by, state and local, some of them federal. They're funded by governmental grants and so on and so forth. They've got a line that they've got to toe as well. So I feel that when the day comes, we will be as hungry as anybody to get through the door and hear the downbeat and have the lights go out and start that show. And I think I know the audience will wallow in the joy of a lights out escape from what's out the front door. But it has to be safe, and we just have to go along with it and wait. It really is. It's out of our control, and it would be wrong for us to force it any other way.
Well, and two, there is a time, you read things back on Facebook and you read feedback, and so many times some feedback, it's very little, but it is there are times that whatever issue someone may have had with a show or with a venue, it's always, it's the band's fault. And I would say 99% of the time that's not the case. And I would hope that the fans understand that it's not you guys, AIM, or the band making the decision of when they can and can't go, or if a particular show is or isn't canceled. And I'm actually glad we're really talking about this and for our listeners, because it's not that you guys don't make the call, they don't make the call. So, it's kind of I don't know. I said a little while ago, it's really literally a day-to-day thing. And sometimes it's hour to hour. Something that happened at 10 o'clock in the morning changed at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right.
So we just have to take it that way. I mean,
Well, that's the biggest challenge is knowing when, because there's no when this is going to, go back into gear again.
right.
And then there's two schools of thought that, I talk to people, just myself. And the one school of thought is for live concerts. So what's going to happen? Are people going to be cautious, and they might not run out to shows right away? They might be like gun shy. And then there's the other school of thought is like, when the doors open, the crowd's coming. Here we go. Everybody's going to be out in full force that wants to see shows because they're stuck in their homes.
Right.
So that's going to be the interesting part about this is,
I personally
Yep.
lean that second way.
Me too.
Because I feel like music is so much more to people than just tunes they hear in their ears. So I feel like everyone's been so cooped up that it will be a way to escape all of that. And a lot of times music is attached to, well, it is attached to memories in their lives, and it'll take them to those happy memories of
Right.
times when none of this existed.
Exactly.
And I truly think, honestly, I think someone would go to a concert maybe before going into a crowded restaurant. You can eat at home.
Right.
It doesn't have the same meaning.
Right. Absolutely.
You say to someone, XYZ, your favorite band, they're back on the stage somewhere. And I would almost bet
Yeah.
that people will run to see it.
It's going to be more like a celebration to
Yeah.
me. It's going to
Yeah.
be like people are going to want to get out there and they're going to want to celebrate this is over. And that's not taking anything away from the band, but it's going to be even more. It's going to run more on a heightened emotion for that.
I just thought of something based on celebration or whatever. Just think the very first line of our show is people on their own are getting nowhere.
That's it.
Interesting.
Yes.
On a personal note, part of our interest in doing this is that in the titles, same storm, different boat. Your boat, on a personal level, includes your daughter, who is a softball player, college student. How are both of you coping with her having her life interrupted? Her joy is sport and school and college and whatever. And there's a huge compromise there. What's going on with her?
Well, Jordan at this point is got her head in the books. Of course, she has retired from softball, and rightly so. Rightly so.
Not know that.
Yeah, rightly so. Because being in the neuroscience honors, there's no time for softball.
Wow.
This is purely academics. If she wanted to be a massage therapist or something along those lines, or a softball coach at the end of the day,
right,
then you can do that. But which
neuroscience honors.
Neuroscience honors. So she's busy doing genetics, and she's actually doing health law. So the laws governing the health system, genetics, organic chemistry, and everything that you don't want to touch. She's doing it, and she's got her head buried. I actually have to make appointments to see her these days. And thank you for asking about her. She's very busy. And when she can give a few hours, she'll put some time in at Old Navy part-time to go do some store hours. But softball is now on the back burner. She would love to play, I guess intramural if she could, but there's just no time. And that's okay, because I'd rather her get her schedule together. She's doing okay. She's very up on the COVID-19 as a medical, pre-medical student. She's telling me all kinds of stuff, and it's like, okay, she's in the know, and that's good for me. I'm very happy.
Good to hear.
What an interesting had no idea. So I'm kind of blown away, but it's super interesting because what an interesting, again, a unique boat, because she's in neuroscience, this whole goofy pandemic thing. So while, yes, her studies may be online and some of the traditional college way of life is different for her, this has to be absolutely super, super interesting for her.
Yeah, it is. She's trying to keep, on the path of what she has to learn, but at the same time, she's pulling in from this thing going on as to where it fits in her. And something like this has hit home for her even more, because, young people, they go through the scholastic, the directions, and sometimes they change directions, and sometimes what they start with is not what they end with. But in this case, at least for her, this is really something that's kind of like given her the jolt. And, like, I've maybe now into research and development, developing vaccines. Whereas before it was cardiology, maybe neurology, something like that. So now this is an added thing that's maybe got her focus, even though she got to focus on the studies at hand, where she might go with this.
But wow, what a positive thing to come out of this crazy situation and pandemic and thing that's got so many people scared. I mean, it's really, out of all of the people we've talked to, we've not had a whole lot of really super positive, but that's a really cool take on in the way that is.
It is.
This all has really changed how we live and what our everyday lives are like. Has it changed? Well, obviously it's changed the way you've looked, but has it given you a different perspective at life, or caused you to put things into a different perspective?
It's interesting, walking into a store. I was just at Whole Foods. I'm walking in with a mask on. And I'm saying, I used to see this thing on TV, like if you'd see like a sci-fi show or a movie or something like that, I don't know, like you'd see something going on in China, I don't know if it's Godzilla or something. They're all walking around with masks on. And I'm going, man, I feel like I'm in a movie. I feel like, I'm sort of like seeing a mirror image of me here, but what I used to watch on TV in Japan. That's a little extreme, because eventually I would hope that, we're not going to need this. But I try to think along the lines that we're going to get through this and be positive about it, and try not to let it affect me too much. I know somebody through a relative who passed away in New York a couple of weeks back, and it was accredited to this. And he was older. He was an older man, and he wasn't in good health. And you see this, and then you say to yourself, well, you got to watch. I have an 87-year-old. I got a dad who's going to be 87 next month, and I'm like very concerned about somebody like him. Not concerned about me, although maybe people go, you should be. You're over 60. Just shot my age out there. But I'm concerned. I'm concerned to an extent about him. Because he's older. He's in great shape, thank God. But there's still some concern for me. So if it's changing anything, it's making me more concerned about others that are in my life that that I normally wouldn't have been overly concerned with, and now I am. So in that respect, yes. And this whole thing with the 6 feet of the social distancing, I get that. I'm about that. But I still try to keep a positive mindset and try to live my life without too much change, even though I've had change in my life, over the last year. So I've had to really reset things for myself personally, but I've come out of the smoke and the dust, and I feel good about it. Now this hits, so I'm trying to not let it affect me too much. I'm trying to stay on my positive path.
And I think that's all of us, because if we let it get into our heads too much, you can go down a dark rabbit hole.
Real
And-
quick.
Yeah, real quick.
Mark, thank you for joining
Thank you
us.
guys. It's great
Thank
seeing
you.
you.
Great to see you.
Yeah, you too, Ron. I saw the hubby a little while ago, so we caught up a little bit, but I didn't see him that much because he was busy.
No, it's always a busy day, as you know, but
Yes.
we really appreciate getting your perspective into this series of things. You've shown a light on some different stuff for us today. So thank you very much. Appreciate
Thanks for having me.
Thanks
It
so
was
much.
it. Pleasure.
See you soon.
Look
Take
forward
care.
to seeing you guys soon too. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yes, you will.
See you later.
Take care.